1 minute warning!
To the goofball army out there, hi at the families, tell them to get to the next room, tell them to go to your neighbors, because we got goofball news to go over, and it might get crazy!
Typically does, guys. If this is your first episode ever, you got like 30 seconds before we start, so not enough time to go to the bathroom, but go get a drink, because trust me, you're probably going to need it there. In the meantime, the rest, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. That way you know about future episodes as well, guys. Buckle your seatbelts if you haven't already. Make sure your tray is in the upright position here, guys, because we are just about ready to get going. And like, oof.
Guys, if you want a crazy ride going forward, a bunch of nonsense, but all nothing but the truth about the Giants, listen in, buckle in, tell a friend.
Let's go.
And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Giant Goofballs, New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
I'm Rob, on a special edition Tuesday show, last one of the year.
And I got to apologize, people. I completely messed up yesterday, saying we'd be on Wednesday, and then I forgot Rob had something to do Wednesday. We all have something to do Wednesday, don't get me wrong, but I have to stay at home because of the dog. The dog doesn't like fireworks, so I completely forgot you were going somewhere. So therefore, we're doing it Tuesday edition.
Tuesday.
So we're still good for Thursday, right? Am I right? Am I wrong?
Thursday. Correct. Thursday. Listen, dinner with the family. Nothing too late, but late enough where I'm not going to be on the show.
There we go. So we got, like I said, we got a few things to go over here. Eli Manning makes the finalist list for the Hall of Fame. We got some issues and good issues that have on the defense there, that's for sure, which is weird to say in a Giants show. And we got a couple more candidates here to go over for the potential head coaching gig here that's available now. So let's get right into it. All righty. So first up is the big one. It's Eli. We got to discuss Eli right off the bat, because when Eli Manning's name's on the list, it forces the league to literally confront how greatness is defined. Just a crazy, weird career there. I mean, let's be honest here. Even as Giants fans will say it point blank that without those 2 Super Bowl rings, Eli's probably not a Hall of Famer. But guess what? He's got them. You can't take that away. Oh, no, you can't take that away from him. So,
no.
It's a huge list, though, this year, guys. And let's be very frank. Eli Manning is a guy that's high up on the list because of 2 things.
Super Bowl 1, Super Bowl 2.
I'm saying last name where he played. That's the 2 things. If he had won 2 rings and had the kind of career he had in, let's say hypothetically, would make it Cincinnati. Obviously, Cincinnati would never have 2 rings, but he probably wouldn't have the same kind of media attention that he does have because he's a Manning that played New York. But in the end, Iron Man streak, 2 Super Bowl rings, being top 10 in passing yards, touchdowns, and every important stat, he deserves it. The thing is this the year? Last year we hoped to be the year. There's a big thing about first ballot Hall of Famer. That means something to people for some unknown reason I'll never understand. You either are or you aren't. It's the dumbest thing ever. That's some kind of extra distinction.
Yeah. But it's to say how great they are as a player that no matter what happened, their first round they went in.
I say they are or they aren't. But, we got that list this year that's just growing of players because there's been a bit of a logjam. So here's the rest of the players, alphabetical order. That way it doesn't seem biased here. Willie Anderson, of course, a longtime Cincinnati Bengals tackle. Drew Brees, do I need to say more? It's Drew Brees. Jahari Evans, the guard for a long time with the New Orleans Saints there. Larry Fitzgerald, obviously one of the best receivers ever, longtime Cardinal. Frank Gore, literally top 5 in rushing yards, I believe, off the top of my head. I don't have the number in front of me, but he's played forever. Right. Played from 2005 to 2020.
Seems like 2025.
Yeah. It's not a normal career to have for a running back, that's for sure. Torrey Holt, who's been waiting forever to get in and probably should be in. Obviously, former Ram. Luke Kuechly, short career, but really good career there with the Panthers as a linebacker. Of course, the aforementioned Eli Manning. Terrell Suggs, T-Sizzle, outside linebacker there for the Ravens. Obviously, last year spent some time there with the Cardinals and the Chiefs as well there, but long time Raven. Adam Vinatieri, probably the best clutch kicker in the Super Bowl era there, and a guy that if the kicker's going to get in, it's probably going to be him from his Patriot days. Reggie Wayne, another guy that's kind of been a log jam to that receiver. It's been a log jam at receivers trying to get in. Obviously a long time Colt there. We got Kevin Williams, defensive tackle, excellent career, mostly with the Minnesota Vikings. Jason Witten, who obviously we all know because he kind of whipped the Giants' butts, let's be honest here, for a lot of years with the Cowboys. Darren Woodson, another guy who's been kind of log jammed waiting to come in. I've always been kind of borderline with him. And then Marshall Yanta, obviously Yanda, the longtime Ravens guard, did play a little bit of tackle as well, but known mostly as a guard. So again, a lot of people. Now, you typically get 4 to 8 players go in a year. There's been more. They put 20 in there for the year of 2020 for some kind of weird reason there, I guess, because it's 2020. But for the most part, it's usually 4 to 8. They did have 9 a couple years ago as well. So again, it's not a strict number. And you look at who's going to get in, obviously. I'm going to give you the obvious ones off the bat. Drew Brees. Right? Got to be in?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that one's pretty obvious. Larry Fitzgerald. Really one of the top, players to ever play his position. I think he's got to get in.
You would think so.
It would make sense, that's for sure, to say the least. Frank Gore. Got to be in.
Yeah.
So there's 3 right there.
One of the most dominant running back in that position.
The list, though, and the rest of them, you're like, I mean, don't be wrong. Most of this list, I think, to me, is Hall of Fame. But are they guaranteed this year is what the whole thing. Like Willie Anderson, I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. No offense, great career. Don't think he is. Jahari Evans, I don't think he is.
Yeah.
Torrey Holt probably should have been a long time ago, but he's not a Hall of Famer yet. He stopped playing back in 2008. Luke Kuechly, depends on where you want to fight on that, short, long career kind of thing. Kind of like Tony Baselli. When Tony Baselli got in, a lot of people complained because he had a really short career, but also the best at his position in that short time. Luke Kuechly kind of falls in that category, but I don't know if you would say he was the best at his career in that time period,
Yeah.
So, T-Sizzle probably gets in, but is he getting in this year?
Oh, Suggs, yeah. You could argue that this year, but I don't know. Yeah, does he make it in this year? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah. Vinatieri, again, I think he probably should be. But is he in this year? And is he going to be stuck not getting in because of the whole kicker thing?
Yeah. Is he like the first kicker to get in?
And that's the thing. And Reggie Wayne, again, has been waiting forever. Reggie Wayne should be in. Point blank, he should have been in by now. That's a guy that I'm shocked is not in. I don't think Kevin Williams is the guy. Jason Witten probably should be in. One of the best tight ends to ever play the game. And Woodson and Yanda, I don't think probably do. But you're still talking with the 3 there, Brees, Fitzgerald, and Gore, that you got to think are obvious going to get in first ballot. Again, at 4 to 8 usually. I don't know. I don't know if he gets in this year. And he should be. And he should be in last year. For the record, Tom Coughlin also should have been in. That's a whole separate thing. It's a whole separate topic of the day. So, yeah, honestly, it's 50-50 to me if he's in.
I lean towards he's in. Like, you look at this, especially these guys are great players, but you look at this Hall of Fame class, like, you look at these, like, the players, Eli makes top 8. Hands down, very easy to distinguish that. He makes, I would argue, he makes top 5.
Now, I did look up here. Last year, he got 44.4% of the vote. Needed 80%. So it was like a little over halfway there. I don't know if that's enough. But he should be. Again, you're either you are the R or you aren't. I hate this first ballot thing, but it is what it is. And there's going to be, I think, an increase because of that. That percentage being so low is the only thing that stopped me from saying he's going to be a Hall of Famer. That's pretty damn low. I mean, literally got half what he needed.
Yeah, which maybe we're biased because we're a Giants podcast. Maybe we're biased because we're in the New York market. But the career he had, the teams that he led to the Super Bowl that should have gone to the Super Bowl, like, yeah, the stats he put up with such bad teams.
And I think part of the problem, though, is because of the fact that he got the 2 rings. He didn't necessarily get in the playoffs very often. Wasn't necessarily an MVP candidate pretty much ever. He wasn't the guy that was getting Pro Bowl after Pro Bowl after Pro Bowl. Like, I get the counter argument. Like, I try to take myself out of the Giants fandom thing, and I get the counter argument. It's there. It's legit. I just don't think that outweighs everything he did. And I think part of what's not considered, if you're not a Giants fan, if you're a Giants fan like us, you probably, already realize this. But you have to put into the equation the fact that he played on a lot of teams that, quite frankly, didn't deserve to even get in the playoffs. It was like he played for great teams. I mean, if you look at like the 3 quarterbacks in that class, him, Big Ben, and Rivers, he easily had the least help.
Easily. And still got the 2 rings. Like I said, to me, he's Hall of Famer. I know there's some people that don't like him, so we'll find out. But if I had to bet, if I had to place money on it, I'm going to say he should get in, but he won't. We shall take that bet. We'll figure out what that bet should be.
So you're betting on it. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, we got
just out of sweats. Just out of my degenerate gambling problem I have over here.
Ever since you
I'll
started
that for $1.
Gambling.
Yeah. Thanks,
All
Caesar Sports Good. Sports Good. Sports
blah, 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 blah. All right, guys. Let's talk about the Giants defense, though, because that's a big one that we haven't had a lot of nicest things to say all this year. But the numbers don't look like just flat out noise. They look like a real defensive shift here with everything going on. Listen, here's the numbers before and after the firing of Shane Bowen. And it's pretty goddamn good, the difference. Let me be very frank and kind of spoiler alert on that one there. I'm going to go category by category for you. And I will say this. I want to give credit where credit's due. This was actually based on a X post on Locked On Giants they had. So got to give Pat Train and her team the credit for this. Yards per game with Shane Bowen, 385 yards per game we were giving up. With Charlie Bullen now, down to 301.5, went from the 30th down to 11th in that time period. Rushing yards per game, 157.2 during Shane Bowen's time as DC. Literally worst in the NFL, 32nd. With Charlie Bullen, we've gone down to 110.3, 10th best in the NFL. Passing yards per game, 227.8 with Shane Bowen as 23rd. With Charlie Bullen, we went down to 191.3. It's 12th best in the league. So we're a little better than average. So the sacks per pass attempt, 6.1% is where we're at. Keep in mind, all offseason, this is an elite pass rush. No one can stop it. As we heard all offseason. Unstoppable. Well,
You bought the
6.1%.
hype.
6.1%. 22nd best in the league. Since Charlie Bullen came on, 12.6, third best in the league. Third down conversion percentage. We were giving up 40.1, which is 21st in the league. We went to 38.8 under Bullen, 16th best. That's not as much a massive one, but it's still an improvement.
Still,
Here's the massive
but you're
one.
literally at average, right in the middle.
Here's the average. Red zone percentage efficiency average. 71.4%. We were 31st in the NFL, second worst in the entire league at stopping people from getting into the end zone. Kind of an important part here. With Bullen, we went down to 36.4 so far, fifth best in the NFL. That's a goddamn massive improvement. And the most important stat, I can tell you guys all the time, yards, all this other BS, don't matter. All that matters is how many points you're giving up. That's what matters in the end. So, points per game. With Shane Bowen, we were at 27.8, 30th in the NFL. We've gone to 22 even, 12th in the NFL. A little better than average. So I think it's safe to say that Charlie Bullen is doing a much better job, at least so far in the few games he's played. I said he's coached as DC compared to what Shane Bowen did. And it just goes to show you, considering how many goddamn close games we had, if the Giants had just pulled the trigger quicker on Shane Bowen, what do you imagine what this season was? I mean, look at the close games we had. It's bad. And the fact that this wasn't made last year when a lot of people were clamoring for it. Okay, fine. You want to go in and give him a year to get, see what he can do with a healthier defense. The defense was all banged up last year. I had no problem at the time. But you held on to him for so goddamn long. Same as you held on to Joe Shane, you held on to Brian Dable, that it killed the Giants' season.
Hands down. It was bad. And so everyone's clear, because if you look at the stats of since Bullen took over, you will see higher than 22 points on the board. It's because special teams also let up a whole bunch of points. So it's like our defense went up and everything else went down.
Yeah. Like I said, it's just crazy to see. Imagine what this defense could have done if Shane Bowen was gone so long ago. Imagine some of these games that we just got our butts whooped. The Saints, great example right there. The Broncos, the Bears, the Packers, the Lions.
Oh my!
How many close games do we have?
6, right? 6 blown in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean,
where that defense looked good, and majority of those points when we were talking about Bowen, letting up the 27.8 points a game, probably 24.5 of that came in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, the whole thing is just absolutely insane that it happened. Well, on the plus side, there's 100% zero chance that Shane Bowen is back next year.
Yeah.
So, let's be very frank, there's probably zero chance that Charlie Bullen's back either. I think at this point it's going to be, a brand new DC with a brand new head coaching, staff there. So, hopefully,
definitely like a Fred Saturday.
Hopefully next year we have a much better option. And to be very frank, spoiler, I think we're probably going to get a defensive coach. Just the vibe I get. There's a lot more good defensive coaches than offensive coaches this offseason. Also, one very good special teams coach that I like to get my hands on. Look at you, John.
Judge.
You're not Joe Judge. No, not Joe Judge. He's doing an excellent job at Ole Miss, and he needs to stay there. Actually, I don't know if he's at Ole Miss anymore, if he went with Lane Kiffin over to LSU or not. I don't even know.
I have no idea.
Either way, I'm good. I'm good. Where do we need Joe Judge? All right, let's talk about someone very specific that is a big part of why this Giants defense is doing so much better lately. And it's Abdul Carter. Listen, we've given this guy a lot of trash, but this is what disruption looks like when it finally clicks. The kid's been playing so much better. It's not even funny. Last 4 games, 3.5 sacks, 6 QB hits, 13 pressures, 6 tackles for loss, and 2 forced fumbles. Pretty goddamn good.
That's crazy. You got rid of the DC that said he had no plan for this guy. You
Yeah.
put in a random guy that probably should have a DC job. They figured out a way how to use him.
That, and I will say this. Kayvon's being out. He's getting a lot more playing time.
Yes.
So, and I think also he got publicly embarrassed with the whole issue of him, falling asleep in meetings and being late for things. And he's kind of becoming a professional, so to speak. A lot, quite frankly, because he has to now.
You just gotta shut up and play at this point.
Yeah, like that's where he's at. And you're seeing the glimpses, you're seeing the potential for what he can be now. And this is what we expected here. We got the guy 3rd overall. We didn't expect to have, half a sack through the first 12 games of his career. Like, that's pretty bad. And granted, he lost a couple because of penalties. Looking at you, Deion Dibanks. He's lost, overall from some things, but it's just like, I don't know what to expect of him next year at this point. Like, are we watching him just going through a good stretch? He's also, played some worse opponents like the Raiders, to be honest, aren't exactly the top tier opponent there. Is the issue it's just a good stretch? Or is the issue that this is who he's going to be? I don't know. There's no way to find out, though. Play the kid. Put him in.
Let him play.
Put him in, coach. He's ready to play today. Look at him. He could be defensive end.
In the outfield?
No, not the outfield. That's I don't know where that came from. Ridiculousness. But that's what it's got to be, is that give him the chance to actually thrive. Because quite frankly, he's playing better than Kayvon Thibodeau has played in a long time. Kayvon had the one season a couple of years ago at 10 sacks, and half them came in against the Commanders and the Jets.
I was going to say, he hasn't been able to play the Commanders this year.
Yeah.
Not healthy, at least.
Like I said, I think it's time for us now to up the expectations on Abdul Carter. We told you guys in the beginning, keep them low, not to be mean about it, but, everybody else was making this kid into an all-pro before he even played a snap in the NFL. Well, now is the time that we got to see fully what he is. And it's time for him to excel, and it's time for him to be an actual professional and show what he can do. Last 4 games, he's doing just that.
Yeah, and kind of like what we brought up earlier was that a lot of players at this point, when they see the coach staff just going on a fire sale, a lot of these players are playing for their jobs, whether it be here or elsewhere. Because when a team does what the Giants have done, they're going to revamp this team, and people are going to make moves are going to be made. Not saying that Carter's going anywhere because it's his rookie deal, but like he's planning to take over Kayvon's spot. So this is something that step it up his professional look, because if he could take that and save the team on some cap space, he looks like a stud. While looking like a stud.
He's also got one more game to get people interested in making him the rookie defensive player of the year. I think he needs a monster game in this last game to happen, because honestly, if I was a voting member, I would give it to Carson Schlesinger of the Browns. He's got 156 tackles, been an absolute freaking beast all year long. and very quietly because he plays for the Browns and he's a linebacker, which isn't the sexy pick, for that kind of thing. No one's like, ooh, the linebacker. They're always like pass rusher, corner. That's what they're looking at.
Yeah,
He's
sexy
probably-
jobs.
Yeah, he's probably the guy who gets it. But if Abdul Carter has, let's say, a monster like 2-sack game at that point there and get to 6 sacks in the season, you can see the dominance. I can see where people start voting for him. So now Abdul Carter excelling though brings up a very valid thing, and we've already seen a couple of y'all.
I was about to say, there's a lot in the comments.
Yeah, talk about in the comments. With Abdul Carter excelling, does that make Kayvon Thibodeau expendable? Spoiler alert, yes, it does. It's where it's at based on what you're seeing here. Again, like I said, Abdul Carter has been playing better lately than Kayvon has all year. On top of that, you throw in the fact that Kayvon has once again spent time on the IR this year. He's missed 15 games now in 4 seasons. That's almost a full season gone. And he had injury issues in college too. It wasn't like this is a guy that all of a sudden was healthy and just had some bad luck. I think that's just who he is. And that's fine. Listen, a normal scenario, he's better than most edge rushers out there. And you just deal with that and you expect to have a decent backup for when that happens. But when you have guys that are better than him, and 2 of them, at a position you only usually need 2 of on the field, it makes him expendable. And the big reason really is the money, if we're talking about honestly. Like, if you weren't paying him a ton of money, then who cares? Hold on to him, make it, call it a day. He's getting paid $14.7 million, guys, next year. And that's not bad. Let me be very clear on that. That's not a bad deal for him.
No, that's still based off his rookie contract. So
yeah, it's his 5th year option.
Yeah.
We need money. We need to fill holes in this roster. We have guys that we need to re-sign that, quite frankly, mean more to this team than Kayvon Thibodeau. No offense to him. Like, he's a good player. I will be very clear. There's times I will tell you guys, players suck. We need to move on. This is not that with Kayvon.
You're looking at the financial expense of the business side of the thing when it comes to this. I also look at this as a morale thing. So if you're going to bring a defensive head coach, right, into this team, you're going to need a dominant defensive first year to make the shadow. Like, hey, I'm here for the show.
Yeah.
At that point, you keep Kayvon, because even if he's the backup on the 5th-year option, it's a better backup than any other personnel that we have. He's made improvements. He's a guy that you pay that 14 plus bill. It's a lot, but it's not a lot in the grand schemes of football. You keep him for that option, and if he doesn't play well, that's when you give him the boot. You give him the last of the rookie contract.
Let him
play for either stay as a Giant or go somewhere else.
My issue is, we talked about this initially last year, and I said, you got to look at it long term. And long term, you have the potential to say, okay, we'll sign Kayvon Thibodeau, and then in a couple of years, we have to pay Abdul Carter. We get rid of Brian Burns potentially. Brian Burns is coming off a season right now where he's number 2 in the NFL in sacks. That tells you you're probably not getting rid of him anytime soon. You got to hope at least you're not. The spot's not there for Kayvon. And the money is the issue. Like, let's say, for example, I'm going to throw a couple players at you. This is a would you rather have scenario. And everybody in the chat and all can feel free to put in the comments section as well what you think. Would you rather have Kayvon Thibodeau or Jermaine Illuminor?
Well, you're completely talking different side of the ball. I mean,
I'm not saying otherwise, but say it comes down to it where the Giants need the money to sign some of these players that are free agents. Would you rather have Kayvon Thibodeau or Jermaine Illuminor?
I'm indifferent on that. Like, it's either one hurts. I know you said Illuminor is one of the guys you probably get
on the fence. We're not doing that.
It depends on the coach. I don't know who the coach is. That's the thing I can't say, because I don't know how the coach is. If it's a defensive mind head coach, I'm keeping Kayvon. If you sit there and have an offensive mind, then I take Illuminor, because you're going to get more use out of that player.
So you're riding the fence.
I told you, I'm indifferent about it. It depends
I get it.
on
Okay,
the head
here you go.
coach.
Wan'Dale Robinson or Kayvon Thibodeau.
It's a good thing we'll have to make that pick next year, huh?
I'm just saying, like,
I hear what you're saying. It's tough calls.
we need the
you have to
money.
keep both.
We need the money. That's the problem. You can't have your cake and eat too. Eventually, you got to say, I can't pay $15 million to a backup edge rusher. As
So
great
what
as
do
he
you
is, like I said, I mean that with truthness. Like, he is a starter for most teams out there. There's 31 of the teams that would love to have him. Like, I'm trying to talk trash about him. Would you rather have him, or I'm going to throw it this way, a little different because these are two cheaper players. Would you rather have Kayvon Thibodeau or Cordell Flott and Micah McFadden?
That's what you're going to give on.
But this is the point I'm making. You can't go out and get these guys and keep all these guys and also pay $15 million to a backup.
It's not necessarily he's going to be a backup. It's probably going to be an interchangeable role. If used right by a competent like DC, that's something you interchange. Like, look at Michael Parsons. He was supposed to be an edge. They put him wherever he needs to go. They'll figure it out as a spot for him.
Would you rather keep Kayvon Thibodeau or Timon Fox? No kidding. I said because Jay put that comment. But I mean, this is the reality of what you're looking at. Here's the other part I want us to think about. As Giants fans, how many times have we complained? Oh, we didn't get anything for Barkley. Oh, we didn't get anything for McKinney. Oh, we didn't get anything for this player, that player. All these guys that we let leave over the years without getting anything for, minus Leonard Williams, just the one guy they traded and actually got a pick for. All these players that we complained. Here we are in that exact same scenario. Kayvon's not staying past next year. Let's be very frank about that. Kayvon is not staying past next year because Abdul Carter will take his playing time.
I'm not disagreeing with that. But he's injured this year. You're looking at some teams offered a first round prior to this injury.
Well,
years before
the injury.
Now, like, what are you going to get for him? Now, what are you going to get for him?
But I'm saying, teams.
What do you want to trade? You want to give him $50 million and get what? A third, fourth round pick for him?
So I think
you keep him.
I think honestly, you get a day 2 pick for him, and that's what I'm hearing. A lot of people also suggesting is what he would get as a day 2 pick for him. Whether that's a second round, third round, I don't know. I'm not going to try to say otherwise. But to me, you're going to hold on to a guy to get one more year out of him. He's not going to be happy as a player because he's not getting playing time. Let's be honest. He's now the third edge rusher. And you're going to pay him $15 million a year. And you're going to risk losing guys that are actually part of the long-term plan.
No, because obviously we know he's not part of the long-term plan.
No.
Let me finish. I'll let you finish. I'll let you finish the point. Say, calm down. Calm your titties there.
Oh, I will not.
You calm them titties. My God. I'm trying to get this point out and keep interrupting. You know he's not going to stay long-term. We probably won't keep him to the trade deadline. But what you do with this guy that's getting injured all the time, that's sitting low on value, you let him get healthy. You let him rest up a little bit. You're not going to have to pay him the full amount because when you trade him before the trade deadline, you're going to clear up some of that cap space. And what you're going to do is let him play as a backup where he doesn't have to play all the snaps, where he's going to get hurt like he does now. He's going to expand his value. Maybe we could trade up and get something better long term.
What do you think his value is now, and what do you think it could develop?
You're probably getting a fourth. You're probably getting a fourth round pick if you get him now. You let him play. If you get 6 sacks before week 7, go ahead.
So
you might get a third.
Let's throw this out there. If somebody gives you late second, early third, because I'm trying to do a middle of the second day, because I said day 2. If somebody offered you that, are you taking the trade? Is that a good value for him?
If you're talking second, yes. You're talking third.
I'm saying late second, early third. You're not talking that much difference. I'm talking like pick like 30th in the second, or like pick number 2 or 3 in the third kind of situation. You know what I mean?
Once again, it goes back to what kind of head coach we're bringing in. Because if you bring in an offensive head coach, yes, take that trade all day. Take it if you get mid third, because he's not going to utilize right.
See, I would take it all day long in general. And the big thing for me is freeing up the money.
This is probably why we are head coaches in the NFL.
But to me, like I said, it don't matter, because I look at it this way. Like, if I have a really good defensive coach, like you're talking about that scenario, is he more valuable if you have a good defensive coach? If I have
you could move him in a better spot.
Hold on, hear me out. Now who's interrupting who? Ooh.
I finally get to speak, and you shush me.
It's contagious. If you get a defensive head coach should be able to make do with less. Should, in theory, because that's their side of the ball. They excel at scheming, getting the best production out of the players, that kind of thing. So to me, if you get a defensive head coach, which again, I expect that's the likely scenario we get, because more defensive coaches are available than offensive coaches, then as far as I'm concerned, that makes me want to trade him even more, because I should have that much more confidence this defense can do something.
I get that. But if you're a first-time head coach that was a defensive guy, you're going to want all the tools and all the advantages you can take. Caven's an above-average player. You'll make a spot for him. You'll switch around that defense and how it sets up and goes in motion. Like, Green Bay's done with Mike Parsons. Dallas is done with Mike Parsons. Like, you will take advantage of these players that you have and make your defense look that much better. You don't get rid of talent just because you're looking what? You're going to pick someone on free agency to be a below-average backup for $9 million. So say $5 million. You want to get rid of Kayvon Thibodeau when you could sit there and make a better deal, let him play the ball a little bit more?
Here's my thing, though. When you say that, what trade value do you think you get additional for Kayvon Thibodeau as a backup? Plus, on top of that,
it's because I'm not saying it's necessary. Because you didn't listen to what I had to say before. Because he's not necessarily going to be. No. Because you're not understanding what I said. Okay.
And there's no guarantee because he's a backup he stays healthy.
One, you didn't listen to anything I just said, because you will find a spot for him to stay on the offense. Yes, if he still says backup, he will. No, he will sit there and still play. You'll figure it out. Abdul Carter will move to the middle. Like, you'll figure out how to get all 3 of those players on the field. That's it.
Oh yeah, we did a great job of that this year.
Oh, once again, because we had a great DC. You just went through the stats.
I get it. But
you just read the stats, not me.
So let's spend next year developing this great 3 pass rusher combo just to lose one of the 3 next offseason for nothing.
Not for nothing.
For nothing. If you keep him for the year, he's gone. I know you said trading him at the deadline. There is no guarantee that you get something good at the deadline. You get your best offers typically right before the draft, because they know teams want picks.
I disagree. I think you get more value out of them and more oomph out of this defense, and not just as the money value, not just as trade value, but as a team and morale value in general. They know it's a business as well, but if you get this team operating and moving heavy as a defense, and they become a top 5 defense like they were supposed to be this year, that changes the whole morale of the whole team. You keep on the talent you have. You don't sit there and throw away. You get rid of just shy of $15 million, and then you have to go buy a $10 million backup just to sit there and place behind Abdul Carter. Like, take the guys you know you can trust, play with them, because you already know what he has, and it's a rookie contract. You're playing with house money there.
To me, I hear what you're saying. If you had him under contract, you had a legit spot for him for a while, I'm all with you there. We don't have the spot for him. We can't afford to sign him long term. Get what you can. That's all I'm saying. So,
We'll
all right, guys.
respectfully disagree.
That's fine. We can respectfully disagree. There's no issue with that whatsoever. But you know what we can agree on? That it's time to pay the bills because y'all keep talking about cruises and I want to go on a cruise. So that's why I got the hat on today, the ship captain's hat. It is time to go ahead and pay the bill. Rob's making me drink also during this break as well. So I got the mini fridge going here. Like it legit, it's a little mini fridge that holds 6 beers and that's it that I keep right next to the podcasting area. It works great for just that scenario.
Perfect. When you're sitting there doing the live show.
Absolutely great. Why not drinking on the job? It's spectacular.
Yeah.
Let's pay those bills.
Thanks for watching. Like the show? Of course you do, or you would have turned it off by now and not be hearing me. There are plenty of ways to support the show. YouTube is the best place to join us, and we offer memberships there with fun benefits like custom emojis and early access to video clips. Of course, there you can also send super chats and stickers to send one-time support payments. The best way to support the show is to buy these drunk idiots beers at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Along with one-time support payments, there are also monthly plans, so you can continue to help kill their livers each month. You can also show people that you are a goofball by visiting our store at 2giantgoofballs-shop.fourthwall.com. We got everything from shirts, hats, phone cases, funny candles, buttons, stickers, and even a 2 Giant Goofballs towel to dry off your goofballs. Of course, you can always support the show for free by simply hitting the like, subscribe, and share button wherever you are watching or listening to this. Hit the thumbs up on YouTube. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It helps the show tremendously, and quite frankly, the goofballs suck at marketing and need your help to get the word out. Thank you for being part of the Goofball Army and for taking the time out to support the show.
All righty, guys. We got one more thing to talk about here. There's really 2 segments left here. We're going to talk about potential head coaching candidates. We've been giving you guys a list of people as they come up name-wise there. We have a couple that we haven't done yet. But we have one specifically that also is a guy that's popped up out of nowhere recently. Like, listen, great defense this year. But a guy that you didn't really hear too much about earlier on, that's Matt Burke, defensive coordinator out of Houston, the Texans.
Well, I mean, they've been playing pretty much top 5 all year.
I mean, they're literally the best entire, the best entire freaking, defense in the entire league right now. He's still also just 49 years old, so relatively young, kind of the perfect age to be a head coach there. Not the 70-year-old or 75-year-old Pete Carroll, but not the 30-year-old Sean McVay. That's still, I can't believe, 30-year-old coach. That's still insane. He got hired that quickly.
He's like 34 now. Come on.
No, that was like in his 40s probably, but he was 30 when they got him. But was a safety at Dartmouth there in college back in the 90s. Started his coaching career at Bridgeton Academy. I don't know where the hell Bridgeton Academy. It sounds very pompous, right?
Yeah.
Sounds like, ooh, Pinky's out at Bridgeton Academy. But he was assistant coach there for 2 years. Then went to Boston College, where he was a graduate assistant for 3 years. Went over to Harvard, speaking of Pinky's out, as an assistant coach in 2003. Spent 2 years as an administrative assistant for the Titans, and then became the defensive quality control coach for 3 years after that. Then moving on up to the Lions, becomes a linebackers coach for 5 seasons with them. Then the linebacker coach for 2 seasons with the Bengals. Then 1 season with the Dolphins before taking over as their defensive coordinator. Now, he was a defensive coordinator for 2 seasons, 2017, 2018. Here's where some of the issues come in. Granted, it's his very first job as a defensive coordinator. Allowed 34.6 points per game in 2017. 29th in the league. Not very good. Allowed 27.1 points per game the next year in 18. 27th in the league. Not very good. Now, again, Dolphins. What does that mean? Path cross with Joe Shane. This is where the Joe Shane connection comes in. Let's be very frank. The Giants love to get people that they know like that. They have a history with. That is a very typical thing. So if we keep Joe Shane, God forbid we do that. I really hope we don't. But there's a connection to the Giants organization. So gets fired from that job, moves on to the Eagles, defensive special assistant in 2019, 2020, run game coordinator / defensive line coach. Key part there, run game coordinator. That's one thing he's known for, is stopping the run. Wasn't Shane Bowen known for that as well before we got him to say? So, yeah. Run game coordinator, like I said, for them. When it goes to the Jets, becomes the game management coach in 2021. Sounds like a quarterback. The game manager. Then goes off to the Cardinals, defensive line coach in 22. Then the last couple of years now with the Texans. That's when all of a sudden he's kind of gotten a big push into the spotlight here. Last year in 2023, I'm sorry, this is his third year. He was 21.9 points per game, 14th in the NFL. So listen, that's not too shabby, but not exactly spectacular either. I'll put it that way. This year, though,
average.
Yeah, it's average, a little better than average. This year, 16.6 points per game this Texans defense has given up. 16.6. That's the very first in the NFL, and it's not even a close second. Not even a close second.
They just shut down offenses.
Left and right. Now, he's got a really good pedigree. He's worked with Mike Zimmer, Jim Schwartz, Sean McDermott, obviously now DeMeco Ryans. So he's learned from some really great defensive minds in the NFL. The big thing for me, though, is how much of the success he's having right now is him, and how much is it DeMeco Ryans? Like we were talking about a minute ago, I made the comparison. Shane Bowen was supposed to be a great run stopper as well. Shane Bowen, kind of the vibe with him was that Mike Vrabel did a lot of that defense, and he was kind of along for the ride. Is that what's going on in Houston? I don't know. But that's a little scary for me.
It is, especially how vast his career was. And I also want to give a shout out to AC. Thanks, dude. Appreciate the super chat.
Thank you, man.
Gotta put that out there.
Also, I gotta say, because Jay is suggesting here, and I get a time thing. I'm nude from the waist down. I don't know, something dumb he says to put for a sign. Like, how do you know I'm not nude from the waist down? You don't know.
Boxers always, man. Just in case the camera drops.
You don't know. You don't know. I could have nothing on. Okay, we're just wilding out and balls out.
We're the two giant goofballs. Just saying.
Yep, that's where that came from. But like I said, it's something that scares me overall. With going a guy with like Matt Burke, where he's had success one place as a defensive coordinator. Like I don't want to go through the rest of it because again, linebacker coach, run game coordinator, like who knows with that stuff. Defensive coordinator, I'm willing to give the credit to a defensive coordinator when there's a offensive head coach. Or they've succeeded in multiple places. When you failed one place and you succeeded in the one place with a defensive head coach.
I don't sit there and put all the eggs in one basket with that. I agree with what you're saying, but you go to the Dolphins, especially that season. That's when they're starting to make that comeback of not being the Dolphins to get 2 wins a year, 3 wins a year. They start being like more respectable football team. They start rebuilding, and he didn't have what it took there. It was his first time as defensive coordinator. Comes back, obviously learns a lot more with the Eagles. builds up his career, but he's still behind the defensive coordinator. So is he still learning, and that's why they're the best? Like how much is it the head coach telling the DC what to do there compared to the DC making the choice? The only reason why I'm trying to be so bland about that is because we had a head coach that had a pretty long resume that we were excited about.
We did.
And had Brian Dable, when he had a nice stint with Josh Allen.
I was not excited. For the record, I was never excited.
We were a little excited. Come on.
I never was. I told you from the get-go. I did not. I was excited in 22 because of the great year we had. But when we first hired him, I was like, oh, hold on a second here.
Long resume is what scared me. And sometimes you go to a spot and you can learn from that spot. Like he's been with the Texans for quite a bit. Moved up. He was with the Eagles for a little bit as well. Went over to the Texans, kind of spruced up that team where they're supposed to be more defensive team when they had some talent over there, and they weren't quite that team, and he helped make some changes.
Yeah,
but how much was it the talent there?
Asking where we heard about Matt Burke, Jordan Ronan listed in my name. So that's a legit source.
Yeah. So once again, I wouldn't be too excited about this pick because something that I do want to see, and I love that he's the one defensive coordinator right now.
Yes.
Doesn't translate to the head coach's job. Not to despair what he's done with that team, even with help or not. It's amazing what that defense has done for him and it's kept them in the games until they got their offense working. I am concerned of the long history. And because of the long history, how well does he develop a system? Because that's something that Giants players have not had. They have not had structure or a system, and they need to build a culture around structure and a system to bring back a winning culture.
Here's my concern, though. Again, it comes down to the fact that he works with a defensive head coach. You got a guy in, you got a guy at Houston that knows what he's doing. D'Amico Ryans has flat out been an excellent defensive coordinator when he was with the Niners. If you go back to the last year the Niners had him, you got 16.3 points per game the 49ers were giving up, which was first in the NFL. First in the NFL, giving up 306 yards per game. That's my point of contention with this guy. And don't get me wrong, like that's not to say you don't look at him. What it is to say is that you need to know how much of this was him.
You're not going to know that till he gets the head coach's job.
No, you're going to know that by talking to people. How involved is he? How much of the game plan is it him? How much is it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Once
again, put to the comments. That's something where I was going at before.
Yes.
I want someone that has a little experience to bring back home. Like I don't like McCarthy. I've never liked McCarthy. But the one thing he's done and he has a track record of doing is bringing structure, this system into a losing team or even a winning team and make them a little better.
I'm all ready for McCarthy.
Does he win a Super Bowl? Probably not. But he could be a jumping stone to that Super Bowl.
Yeah. Like I said, I think that this is not the guy for me because like that. I don't want a guy who doesn't have experience. And I see Jay, he saying you need a retread. I don't mean a retread. I want somebody who legitimately had success as a head coach. A retread to me is like when we got Pat Shurmur a couple of years ago. That was a retread. He was a guy who was failed as a head coach, giving him a second chance. McCarthy has succeeded. If Harbaugh becomes available and the Ravens decide to, they decide to mutually part ways or whatever, that's somebody who's had success. Tomlin, same thing. Even Brian Flores. Brian Flores had this Dolphins team when he was there, being a 500 team, when quite frankly, their roster was crap. You know, like that's where it is. You know, if you're expecting to get somebody on there like an Andy Reid or a Bill Belichick, sorry, they don't grow on trees.
No.
You're going to have to take the risk that somebody else can come in and do that. We're talking about 3 coaches, by the way, that have Super Bowl rings. So that's what I'm saying. I don't consider them retreads. And that's why, like I said, to me, Matt Burke is not the guy. He's not the guy I'm interested in. The Giants, I can see them being interested because of a relationship with Joe Shane if they keep Joe Shane. But not my guy. So
he's the thing that makes him interesting is you go for guts and glory if you take that kind of thing. You give the guy a shot first time.
Boom or bust.
Boom or bust, exactly. He could be the guy that takes us deep into the playoffs, or he'd be the guy that just continues to the past 2 years not get us 5 wins.
I'm just tired of busting.
Yeah, but busting makes you feel good.
Like that's just a family show, Rob.
Yeah, Ghostbusters.
Can't talk about that here.
It's a Ghostbusters. Who are you gonna call?
We got one more, guys. So we go from a guy who's coaching in Houston to a guy from Houston, Clint Kubiak.
Ooh, that's
a family tree potential coaching hire here. Will be a second-generation head coach here. Obviously, the son of Gary Kubiak, who obviously won a Super Bowl ring with the Broncos in Peyton Manning's last ride, not to be confused with Russell Wilson's Let's Ride. 38 years old, too, so a very young pick there. Was originally started off with Texas A&M back in 2010, a couple years as an offensive quality control coach, and then 1 year as a graduate assistant. Goes on to the Vikings, is an offensive quality control coach. Works with his dad, by the way, who was with the Vikings then. Kansas goes to Kansas to become a wide receiver coach. Then goes to the Broncos, offensive assistant for 3 years. Again, that's the Super Bowl year. That's with his dad. Then goes to Minnesota, quarterbacks coach for 2 seasons, offensive coordinator with the Vikings back in 2021. Now, in that year, 25 points per game they averaged, the Vikings. 11th best in the NFL. So above average, not elite, but above average. 22, he goes back to the Broncos, is their passing game coordinator and quarterbacks coach. 23, passing game coordinator. 2024 is the offensive coordinator for the Saints. Now, that year, they averaged just 19.9 points per game and 24th best in the NFL. But it's also the Saints. Like, I'm not going to go crazy over the fact that it's the Saints. Like, the Saints didn't exactly have a ton of weapons on offense. Wasn't exactly a prolific offense roster-wise, you know?
Yeah.
So
this is some bad times for the Saints.
He goes to the Seahawks this year. You know what's happening with Seattle right now? They made a ton of changes. Geno Smith out, Sam Darnold in. Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf out. Jackson Smith-Njigba becomes the top guy, which, by the way, he's playing like the best goddamn wide receiver in the entire NFL. It's almost like Rob and I were right about that guy. It's crazy. But 29.4 points per game, second best in the NFL. So here's a guy now that's been a coordinator in 3 different spots. And he succeeded. I mean, legitimately, you can say 2 out of 3. You can say he didn't succeed in New Orleans, and I'll take that. 2 out of 3 succeeded.
Once again, it's the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, and like Meatloaf said, don't be sad because 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Now, he worked with his dad, obviously, Gary Kubiak. He also worked with Kyle Shanahan, Kevin Stefanski, Sean Payton, Brian Schottenheimer. He's literally coached alongside some of the better, coaches in the league over the last couple of years. Oh, yeah, and I forgot to add one guy on the list he also worked alongside, Norv Turner. Say what you want about Norv Turner as the head coach. He was a crappy head coach. He's one of the best offensive coordinators of the last 30 years.
Yeah. He's
He's
couldn't
just
make work as head coach.
Brian Dable. Like Brian Dable may just be a coordinator, not a head coach. Norv Turner is definitely that definition of the guy who's an excellent coordinator, not a good head coach.
Yeah.
So he's worked with some great guys like that. Couple of things with him. He's never really got an experience with defense. You're going to have to bring in a legit defensive coach that can just take the reins and take that side of the ball. We've seen that before, what happened with Brian Dable and Wink Martindale. But let's be honest, Wink's kind of a child and Brian Dable's kind of a dick. We're being honest about it.
Yeah.
So not exactly the best, situation there with those two. So I don't know if you can want to compare that. The other thing is he's also never been a head coach. You don't know what you're getting. That's my biggest thing that scares me with these guys. I want somebody that we know we're getting. I don't want to risk it. I want to know what it is. But Gary Kubiak, we're talking about two guys here today. Matt Burke and Gary Kubiak. I'm saying Gary now. Clint Kubiak. Sorry, wrong Kubiak. I would take Clint in a heartbeat. Is he in my top 5 or my Fab 5 here? No. But I wouldn't be pissed off if we got him. A young offensive mind, a guy that's done a lot of work with different quarterbacks. A guy that can go ahead and step up and make this into potentially an actual modern NFL offense. Not just 5-yard dunks and, Jackson Dart running into linebackers like a dart himself into a board.
Yeah. Zing.
I just, like I said, I think it's a good option for us. Not my top option. I want the guys with the head coach experience. But I think of the guys you're talking about that don't have experience, a guy that'd be a first-time head coach, I'd probably put him second. I think Shula is the only guy I'd have ahead of him.
Yeah, Shula's definitely up there if we're going to take a spot at head coach. I'm not sold, but I'm on the fence. Because I definitely want a head coach that's going to be a game changer here. And you kind of take the risk because he's got a good track record. But once again, just like we just talked about, you have a lot of talented people around you. Was it him as a OC? Was it him as his position, or is it the people around him that make it look better?
Yeah, like I said, we'll have to find out because I think someone's gonna give him a shot. I do. I think he's one of the younger minds there at that point that I think is kind of really respected. And again, there's not a lot of great offensive coaches. So if you want an offensive coach, let's say for example you're Tennessee. And you want to get a guy who can develop Cam Ward. That's part of the equation. Am I getting a defensive guy? Got some experience maybe, but not necessarily the guy that, knows how to work with quarterbacks that well. Do I want to take that risk or do I want to bring in the guy that is an offensive guy, works with quarterbacks, has a track record working with quarterbacks? Kubiak fits that.
He does.
Yeah. So, all righty, guys. Well, we're going to call it a night here, guys. Before we go, though, we do want to wish you all a happy and safe new year. Don't do anything we wouldn't do. In fact, I would say don't do anything we would do either. Just we're old, but we're still crazy. But we'll be back again Thursday for you guys. Regular
next year.
Next year, starting 2026. And apparently we need also be working with homeless people, according to our commenter here. I love it. Like, let's come into a random sports channel and say, "Oh, don't you have something better to do with your time?" As if that's not like a waste of your time, dude, to come in here and tell us that. It's like,
yeah.
Insanity. But anyway, guys, we'll be back with you guys Thursday. As always, we're live every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, the preferred platform, along with, of course, also Facebook, Twitter /X, and, of course, Twitch and Rob's favorite,
Choose like that, Rob.
my LinkedIn profile. And, of course, with that, we also are available the next day on the audio podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, all the big ones there. So if you haven't already, do me a favor, hit that like, hit that subscribe, ring that bell on YouTube, share it to a friend. Guys, appreciate all your support and everything here. We'll see you guys there on Thursday. And as always, Giant fans,
Go David! David!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.